Welcome to the course on data communication and networking, Week 5, Session 1. In this one, students will learn data rate limits. What are the factors which affects or which limits the data rate on the communication line? And also students will learn about the performance parameter. What are the performance parameters to measure? The link bandwidth, link throughput, link latency, what is bandwidth delay product, and what is jitter. Let's start with data rate. Data rate is nothing but in communication or communication link, how fast we can send data, that is nothing but data rate. Unit of data rate is bits per second. So that can be 1 bit per second. It can be 1 kilobits per second, 1 Mbps, 1 megabits per second, and so on. Data rate depends on three factors. The first factor is bandwidth. What the bandwidth available to send on that link. The level of signal levels. The level of signal levels we'll see subsequently in the next slide, and all we already discussed during starting of this chapter. The quality of the channel that we will discuss when we discuss about noises. To measure or to define data rate, the two scientists, the Nyquist and Shannon, specified uh, in form of equation. So Nyquist has specified for noiseless channels where the noise is not present or noise equal to 0, and Shannon has specified for a noisy channel. So noisy channel, in previous session we have discussed, it is measured in terms of SNR, the ratio of signal upon noise. Nyquist researcher has defined the bit rate in these terms. Bit rate equal to 2 into the bandwidth allotted between communication of two machines and into log L base 2. Over here, the bit rate we want to find out, the bandwidth is bandwidth of the channel. L is the number of signal levels used to represent the data. So to understand L, let's take this example. The first example is having two levels, level 1 and level 2. And in the second example, example number 2, it has four levels. This is denoted as, this may be a plus 10, plus 5, minus 5, and minus 10. So each level can represent 2 bits over here. In case number 1, each level can represent 1 bit over here. So definitely we will have a higher bit rate in this case rather than this is first in the first case. So there might be a questions. So if you want to get higher bit rate, if you want to achieve higher bit rate, why can't we increase this number of levels as from 4 to 64 or 128? But if we increase the number of levels, it burdens on the receiver side because receiver has to differentiate whether it's a level 1, 2, 3 or 4. If we increase the number of levels from 4 to 64, there will be minor variation between these two levels. Minor variation. So it increases burden on the receiver to differentiate whether it's level 3 or level 4 and subsequently up to level 64. So if we increase the number of levels, that increase the level of signal and it reduces the reliability of the system. Reliability of the system means the signal may corrupted or receiver might interpret different combinations of bits. Let's take one example. Consider a noiseless channel. The noiseless channel is asked. The bandwidth is given, that is 3000 Hertz. Transmitting a signal with two signal levels. The signal levels are also given. Find the maximum bit rate. So maximum bit rate as per Nyquist theorem, that's a 2 into bandwidth into log L base 2. So 3000, its a bandwidth is given over here. The signal levels 2 are given over here. So if you put into equation, we will get 600 bits per second, that's a 6 kbps. One more example. We need to send 256 kbps over a noiseless channel with bandwidth of 20 kilohertz. How many signal levels do we need? So over here the question is reverse. In previous example, signal levels were given. Over here, the signal level is asked, other parameters are given. So if we put into equation, so 265 kbps, which is 265 into 10 raised to 3. It's a bit rate is given over here. 2 into bandwidth is given over, that's a 20 kilohertz, that's a 20,000. And then we need to find out the number of levels. If you put everything in equation, then we will get L equal to 98.7 levels. So 98.7 level, it is not possible. So we have to approximate it's either 100 or it has to have a 2 raised to power n, where the value we will get it will equal to 128. So we can use 128 levels over here to represent these signal levels. The next equation is given by the Shannon, and it is again it is known as Shannon capacity, because Nyquist theorem indicates, or it facilitates to find out the number of levels, where Shannon capacity indicates the capacity of the link. So that's why the word capacity is added into a Shannon theorem. So in 1944, the Shannon introduced formula called Shannon capacity. This is a formula: capacity equal to bandwidth into log 2, and we have already discussed in the last session with noisy channel. How can we figure out how can we represent noisy channel using signal to noise ratio SNR? So this is equation of Shannon capacity given by Shannon researcher. Let's take example. Calculate the theoretical highest bit rate of a regular telephone line. Over here, specifically they have not asked it's a noisy channel or noiseless channel. So we should consider it's a noisy channel because they have asked for regular telephonic line. And regular telephone line, practically the channel does not exist which has noise equal to 0. So if there is no noiseless channel, word is not given in example, we have to consider it's a noisy channel. A telephone line normally has a bandwidth of 3000 hertz. It ranges from 300 to 3300 hertz, assigned for data communication. The signal to noise ratio is also given, that is 3162. So if you put into equation, the capacity equal to bandwidth into log 2 1 plus SNR. Bandwidth is given 3000, SNR is given 3162. So if you put 3162 over here, if we take log base 2, we will get 11.62 multiplied by 3000. This is the capacity, that's a 34,860 beats per second. We can also write 34 kbps. One more example, the signal to noise ratio is often given in decibels. So SNR dB is given. So please mind that over here SNR dB is given, not SNR. And we saw in the previous lecture that how to find out SNR dB from SNR. SNR dB is given equal to 36 and the channel bandwidth is given 2 megahertz. Find the theoretical channel Shannon capacity. To get the SNR, so we have they have given SNR dB. So to find out SNR dB, so let's pay attention to this equation that we have seen in previous lecture. SNR dB equal to 10 log SNR base 10. So SNR becomes 10 raised to SNR dB by 10. So if I put SNR dB equal to 36 over here, so that becomes 36 by 10. That's nothing but 3.6. So SNR would be 10 raised to 3.6, which is nothing but 3981. And if you put 3981 over here, then it becomes 2 into 10 raised to 6. That's a 2 megahertz. The bandwidth is given 2 megahertz. 2 into 10 raised to 6. This is megahertz. Log 3982 base 2, which will get 24 Mbps. One more example. We have a channel width of 1 megahertz bandwidth. The bandwidth is given. The SNR for this channel is 63. What is the appropriate bit rate and signal level? So first we start Shannon capacity is equal to V log base 2 1 plus SNR. We use SNR over here 63. The bandwidth is given 1 megahertz 10 to 6, and we will get 6 Mbps. That's a bit rate. So bit rate is 6 Mbps. To get the signal level, we must use Nyquist formula. So 4 Mbps. That's instead of 6 Mbps. Practically, we will get the 4 Mbps. So we can put also here 6 Mbps, but if you use 2 to power, so that let's consider 2 to power nearest is 4 Mbps. So 4 Mbps equal to 2 into 1 megahertz into log L base 2, and if we found, then we will get L equal to 4. So in this example, by these examples, we can say Shannon capacity gives the bit rate, and the Nyquist formula gives us signal levels. If you want to achieve this bit rate, how many signal levels we have to use, that is given by Nyquist formula. So Shannon capacity gives us the upper limit of the bandwidth, where Nyquist formula tells us how many signal levels we need to achieve that upper limit. Let's go ahead with performance parameter. So performance is nothing but the performance of network. Uh, in this sense, I'll talk about performance of the link. Performance of the link. How good is it? The performance of the link means if this is a computer and these two computers may be connected directly, so there is a direct link, or these two computers may be connected indirectly. So there can be a network over here, but this computer may be connected to next intermediate node, and then there may be a next intermediate node, and so on, and it is connected over here at last mile. So I will be talking about with respect to the link between this node. Well, if we consider this is first node and this is second node. Node can be computer, node can be any intermediate device. So I will talk about the link only. Subsequently, you can derive for the network, you can derive for end path as well. So whatever I'm talking, I will talk with respect to link only. So what are the performance parameter which affects performance of the network? Those are bandwidth, throughput, delay, bandwidth delay product, and jitter. The bandwidth is measured in terms of hertz and in terms of bandwidth bits per second. Hertz, it's normally it is analog signals. We measure in terms of hertz, but for digital signals, we measure in terms of bits per second. In analog signals, so how to measure bandwidth? It's the difference between highest frequency and lowest frequency. This is the equation of bandwidth. Bandwidth equals F2 minus F1, where F2 is highest frequency, F2 is lowest frequency, and bandwidth spectrum that we are going to use to send data from one node to another node. In case of digital communication, we send these digital signals. So we measure in terms of how many bits we are transmitting over a period of time. That's a bits per second. So let's understand the difference between all these three. The first one is bandwidth, the second one is data rate, and third one is transmission rate by taking some examples. So I'm taking same example as I take all the time two machines. Machine names are A and B, A and B. What could be the bandwidth of this link, data rate of this link, and transmission rate of this link? So bandwidth, as we have discussed, in case of digital communication, we measure in terms of bits per second. Bits per second. So how many bits this channel carries from machine A to machine B? In that sense, we can consider it's a maximum data rate. Maximum data rate equal to bandwidth, or we can also say maximum allowed or permitted data rate. So it can be 1 Mbps, it can be 1 Mbps, it can be 10 Mbps, it can be 100 Mbps, or it can be 1000 Mbps practically. So in practically, we have NIC cards which is either operated over 10 Mbps, 100 Mbps, or 1000 Mbps. The NIC card does not operate over 1 Mbps, but we can theoretically we can assume the 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 bandwidth on this link is 1 Mbps, but it is only theoretically. So this is 10 Mbps is a maximum data rate that is supported by machine A and machine B on this link. So if we consider the NIC card is installed over here, the speed of or capacity of NIC card is 10 Mbps, and the same speed or the capacity of any card NIC card we must have a 10 Mbps. So 10 Mbps on the left side, 10 Mbps on the right side. So whatever data we transmit over here, that we will send at the speed of or at the rate of 10 Mbps. That's the maximum data rate that we are transmitting. Now, if I want to differentiate between 10 Mbps and 1 Mbps or 100 or 1000 Mbps, let's take one example that On this link, there are two cases. This is case number 1, which I'm identifying as a case 1, C1, and this is case number 2, I'm denoting as a C2. In case 1 and case 2, if you look at the difference, so the width pulse is higher in case 1 than the width of pulse over here. This is the width of pulse and this is the width of pulse of case 1. So we can consider this is 1 Mbps and we may consider this is 10 Mbps. What is the difference? Only the width of pulse. Means 1 Mbps, 10 Mbps, 100 Mbps and 1000 Mbps difference is width of pulse which this NIC card sends data on this wire. We know very well if we want to send a signals, we will send signal in terms of electrical signals and electrical signals. This is one electrical signal, the case number 1. This is another electrical signals. But when we put electrons over here, because electric signal is nothing but electron travels through the cable. So when we put electron over here, the electron runs at the constant speed 2.7 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. So the speed of the signal remains constant throughout this cable from one end to other end, 2.7 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. But what limits our bandwidth? That this speed of NIC card at the rate this either it is sending 10 Mbps or 100 Mbps or 1000 Mbps, or it is using wider bandwidth, wider width of pulse, or narrow width of pulse. So if we consider 100 Mbps, still the width of pulse will be very narrow. For 1000 Mbps, the width of pulse will be very narrow than this 10 Mbps. So that differentiates ones and zeros, and that is maximum data rate allowed on this channel. That is about bandwidth. So that's a maximum capacity. Now what about the data rate? Data rate is nothing but what amount of data or the rate at which you are transferring data on this communication line. Rate at which in the sense, let's take two examples. This is case 3 and case 4. I'm denoting over here case 3 and case 4. So this is ones and zeros. I am transmitting over here 10 10 10, and then I'm transmitting one more bunch of 10 10 10 over here 10 10 and 10. The number of bits remains same in one bunch 10 10 10, that is 6 bits, and I'm sending over here 10 10 10. So if you observe this C3 and C4 case, the C3 case, between two bunch we are having higher space. The time or the space between these two bunches is higher as compared to this one. So definitely the data rate would be higher in this case rather than this one. This is having data rate lower than the case number 4. So data rate defines how apart you are sending bunch of data with each other. That defines your data rate. There are other parameters. There are lots many parameters. Transport layer, sliding window protocol also plays important in defining your data rate. But this is at physical level. What you understand by data rate? That's I have explained over here. Transmission rate. So transmission rate over here is nothing but 10 Mbps, 100 Mbps, or 1000 Mbps. So transmission rate remains constant. For example, this computer is having transmission rate equal to 10 Mbps. Then when it has a bunch of data to send, when it puts signals on this cable, the signal will travel at 2.7 into 10 raised to 8, and the width of pulse with respect to 10 Mbps. So if it is having a bunch of data, it will send data at the speed of 10 Mbps. Okay, so let's say this is a computer and it is having 1 Mbps speed, 1 Mbps. And it is having a 6 bits to send. It wants to send 6 bits. So can you figure it out for 1 bit how much time it takes to send data? For 1 bit it wants to send 6 bit, but in 1 Mbps if it wants to send 1 bit of information, how much time it will take? So to find out, so this is 1 Mbps means the data rate. To find out the time duration for 1 bit, 1 upon 1 Mbps we need to write. That's a 10 raised to minus 6 microsecond. Okay, so this is the time which is taken by 1 bit to be transferred or to be transferred for this machine to on this wire. So if I want to transfer 6 bits of information, how much time it will take? Nothing but it's a multiplication of 1 bit into the number of bits, which is 6 into 10 raised to minus 6. That is 6 microsecond. So it takes 6 microsecond to send these 6 bits of information. If my the length of this bunch is 1000 bits, it takes it takes 1000 into 10 raised to 6 minus 6 equal to 10 raised to 3 into 10 raised to minus 6 equal to 10 raised to minus 3 equal to 1 millisecond. So it will take 1 millisecond to transmit data from these machines on these wires. So that is known as transmission rate, and that delay or time it takes to transfer the data on this one, it is known as transmission delay, TD. So transmission rate, it is nothing but the rate at which the NIC card is sending a data. From transmission rate, we can derive transmission delay. The data rate is nothing but at what rate the sender is sending these frames on these wires. Maybe two frames are apart from each other or two frames are nearer to each other. That is defined by data rate. And the bandwidth, the maximum, if all the bits are sent back to back without any space, what can the maximum data rate that we can achieve? That is nothing but equivalent to bandwidth. So as we have discussed, bandwidth equal to maximum data rate, provided we are sending all bits we are sending back to back. There is no space between two bits. All bits back to back. Practically, it's not possible that we can send all the bits back to back. Practically, the data are divided into bunch, and between two bunches there will be space. That space is normally known as interframe space (IFS). This is second parameter of performance. That's the throughput. By the definition of throughput, it is a measure of how fast we can actually send data through a network. That's a throughput, which is similar to data rate. The unit of throughput is similar to data rate. It's units per second. Unit bits per second. How many bits you have transferred per second? This is one example where the bandwidth is given. The bandwidth of 10 Mbps and average 12,000 frames are sent per minute, means in a 60 second, with each frame carrying an average of 10,000 bits. The size of frame is given 10,000 bits. How many frames are sent? 12,000. 12,000 are sent. 12,000 frames are sent in 60 seconds. So it is asked what is the throughput of this network. The throughput is a normal equation. It's a number of bits you have sent upon unit or total time. 12,000 into 10,000, this becomes number of bits upon 60. That's a 1 minute equivalent to 2 Mbps. So if you observe the throughput from during duration, start and end time, that is throughput equivalent to data rate. But practically, when we measure the throughput, when we plot a graph of throughput, we will get a graph like this. So this is with respect to time t. At point time t1, we are having a throughput or data rate up to this one. At point time t equal to t2, we are having a data rate equal to this one, and so on. So theoretically, it is equivalent to data rate, but practically, we can have a throughput at specific time interval. Third parameter is latency. It is also known as delay. Latency or delay defines how long it takes for an entire message. The message may be of 1000 bits in length or 10,000 bits in length to completely arrive at the destination from the time the first bit is sent out from the source. And latency is made of four delay, or latency is sum of four delay. The first is propagation time, second one is transmission time, queuing time, and processing delay. Instead of time, we can have a delay as well. Propagation delay, transmission delay, queuing delay, and processing delay. Let's start with propagation time or propagation delay. The propagation time, it measures the time required for a bit to travel from the source to destination on wire or in communication on communication media. So that's propagation time equal to distance upon propagation speed. This propagation speed, as we discussed in previous sections, it is speed of electrons in wire. In case of air, it is in terms of common air medium. So distance means propagation time depends on the distance. The propagation speed, it will be constant. The propagation speed of electromagnetic signal depends on the medium and on the frequency of the signal. For example, in vacuum, the light is propagated with a speed of 3 to 10 raised to 8 meter per second. It is lower in air. It is much lower in case of cable. So, in case of air, it may be 2.8, and it may be in cable 2.7 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. Lower and much lower does not mean it from 3 into 10 raised to 8 goes to 1 into 10 raised to 8. Little bit plus or minus 0.1. That's why it is type 2.8 and 2.7 we can consider over here. One more example of propagation time. What is the propagation time if the distance between 2 points is 12,000 kilometer? Assume the propagation speed is 2.4 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second in cable. So propagation time equal to 12,000 multiplied by 10,000. That's nothing but meter by 2.8 into 10 raised to 8. So that's we will get 50 milliseconds. Another is transmission time. Earlier we have seen transmission rate, and if you want to find out transmission delay or transmission time, 1 upon transmission rate, we will get the transmission delay. In data communication, we don't send just one bit, we send entire message. The first bit may take time equal to the propagation time to reach its destination. The last bit also may take the same amount of time. Transmission time of entire message can be calculated as a message time upon bandwidth. Bandwidth we have considered as a transmission rate, that's at either 10 Mbps or 100 Mbps or 1000 Mbps. Let's take one example to find out the propagation time. What are the propagation time and transmission time for 2.5 kb message if the bandwidth of the network is 1 Gbps? Assume that the distance between sender and receiver is 12,000 km and the light travels at 2.4 into 10 raised to 8. We can consider propagation time. So 12,000 kilometer by 1,000, that is kilometer into meter. 2.4 into 10 raised to 8, that's the speed of light. We will get 50 millisecond. And transmission time, that's a message length. So 2.5 kilobyte means 2,500 bytes into each byte is of 8 bits. That's why 2500 multiplied by 8 divided by the time duration is 10 raised to 9. That's a bandwidth. So that's 1 Gbps. So 1 Gbps equivalent to 10 raised to 9, which is equivalent to 0.020 millisecond. So this is propagation time and this is transmission time. The propagation time depends defines signal will take travel from one machine to another machine. That depends on the distance, and transmission time depends on the bandwidth of that machine. What is the speed of NIC card that defines transmission time, and second is what is the length of message. Next parameter is queuing time. Queuing time is the time needed for each intermediate or end devices to hold the message before it can proceed. In short, these are the two machines, and there may be many intermediate nodes. And if you are transferring data from one node to another, one machine to machine B, machine A to machine B, there may be many intermediate node comes into picture. So when the packet comes to this node it is having a RAM, and that node will store that packet into RAM before processing. That time it is known as queuing time. For time for which this intermediate node, normally it is a router or switch, that is the packet is kept into a queue before processing, that is known as queuing time. So if you want to find out queuing time from A to B, we need to find out the queue time from intermediate node 1, 2, 3 and last intermediate node, and we sum together, then we will get the actual queuing time from path A to B. The queuing time is not a fixed factor. Fixed factor in the sense it is variable factor. It depends on the current traffic conditions as well as the number of links are connected to that intermediate node. Let's see all these four by taking one examples. These are the two nodes. I want machine A sends one entire message. So this time is known as transmission time. The time it takes, this is, let's say, time t equal to t1. This is up to t1. The entire message is transmitted over a line, that is transmission time. The next one is propagation time. That whole message takes some time to travel on cable or go from machine A to machine B. That is known as propagation time. And that we have seen, I discussed already. This is transmission time. The queuing time, that if there is intermediate node, then queuing time will be applicable. Over here, there is no intermediate node involved. That's why queuing time equal to 0. Similar way, processing time, there is no intermediate node involved. That's why the processing time is equal to 0. This is other way of getting the propagation time and transmission time. This is machine A and machine B, and this vertical line indicates the activity with respect to time t. So the sender A starts sending a frame at time t equal to 0. It puts these signals on these wires, and wires take some time to travel down over here. So this is known as propagation time. So that one bit of information travels on cable, and at this point of time it is received over here. So difference between these two, it is known as propagation time. And this is a time that is known as transmission time. The time taken by this machine to send entire message on this transmission line. Let's see some examples with respect to different scenarios. Same bandwidth, in this case we are considering same bandwidth, machine A and machine B. Let's say I change a name, machine L to machine M. There are two cases, case A and case B. I'm taking same machines L and M and the same vertical line that indicates time t. This is growing in downward direction, which indicates time t. And this LMN, this is case number 1 or A, case number A, this is case number B. What it says, same bandwidth but different distance. Same bandwidth but different distance. For case A, we can consider it's a 10 meter. Case B, we can consider it's 100. So what would be the higher in this case and case B, whether propagation time or transmission time? Bandwidth is same. So over here, the bandwidth is same. So that's why the transmission time will be same. So transmission time will be same. That means it takes this much transmission time, that will remain same. But what makes difference? Propagation time. Transmission time will be same. So this one is a transmission time. This is also transmission time. It will be same. But what makes difference? This is propagation time. So this is lower propagation time, and this is higher propagation time. So conclusion of this discussion, if we increase the distance, the propagation delay will increase. So that's why that same message length will take much more time in propagation, or it will spend time into propagating signals from one end to other end as the distance is higher than this case A. Another example, keep the same distance but different bandwidth. So this is case A where machine L and M, case B where same machine L and M. What is difference? The data rate. Let's say consider this is 1 Mbps speed, and over here we can consider 10 Mbps speed. The data rate means the speed of NIC card or speed at which this NIC card sends signals over this communication channel. So same way over here, L and M, L and M. So in the first case, 1 Mbps, there this is a propagation time and this is transmission time. Same case but different bandwidth. This is propagation time and this is transmission time. So in case B, it is having higher bandwidth, so transmission time is lesser than the case number A. Conclusion, if you have a higher bandwidth, message which takes time or it will take lesser time to send over a communication line. Let's go ahead with the next property. It is a not property, but it is the parameter, that is bandwidth delay product. Bandwidth and delay are two performance metrics on the link. But if we multiply, it gives you very good information. To understand what is bandwidth delay, let's understand this example. There are two machines, senders and receivers. And the speed of the link is, or the bandwidth is 1 Mbps, 1 bits per second. Bandwidth is 1 bit per second. The delay is 5 seconds. Means 1 bit will take 5 seconds to travel from here to here. The distance between these two are such a way that delay is 5 seconds. And the bandwidth is 1 bits per second means it takes 1 second to put data on this cable. This is situation after first second where the first bit is on the cable. This is situation after second where the first bit is on the line and this sender will send one more bit, that is nothing but second bit. So if we send out all these one after third second, fourth second, fifth second, this will be the scenario. So the after fifth second, the fifth bit, fourth bit, third bit, second bit, and first bit, they are on the line. Now what happens after the 6 seconds? After 6 seconds, 6 bit will be on the line and first bit will be received by the receiver successfully. So second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, those 5 bits will be online. So this delay means 5 second indicates, and because of bandwidth of 1 Mbps, we can conclude at max there will be 5 bit on the line. So we can say that this product 1 into 5 is a maximum number of bits that can fill the link. Let's take one another example. This is bandwidth equal to 5 bits per second, delay equal to 5 seconds. So bandwidth delay product will be 25 bits. So you can see in this diagram, this is first second. So as bandwidth is 5 bits per second, we can see the 5 bits over here. The same way, this is for second, third second, fourth second, and fifth second. At fifth second, we are having a 5 bunch of data belongs to a different group of bits, and because our bandwidth delay is 5 into 5, 25 bits. So at most on this line we will get 25 bits. So that bandwidth delay product indicates how many number of bits that will be in communication line from sender to receiver. We can consider the volume equal to bandwidth into delay. Bandwidth into delay. Delay depends on the length of cable. Bandwidth depends on the speed of an IC card. This is another way. If higher bandwidth, you will get the volume will be higher. Another case, the length is higher, so you will get delay parameter will be higher, you will get higher volume. The last terminology is a jitter. Jitter is a variation in the time between data packets arriving. Normally it is caused by the network congestion or it may be caused by the route changes. The network congestion we will discuss in transport layer and route changes we will discuss in network layer. But for simplicity, this is machine A and this is machine B. I am not going to show entire message, but line indicates entire message. This line indicates from A to B, entire message is sent. So at time t equal to 0, this is t equal to 1, this is t equal to 3. So time t equal to 0, the first packet is sent, and time t equal to 1, the first packet has arrived. At time t equal to 4, the second packet has arrived. Time t equal to 8, the third packet has arrived. So we can see over here, there is no uniformity at receiver sides. There is no constant delay at receiver sides. So you can see over here there is a slope is very low, slope is higher, and this is higher slope. So we have seen this slope, that slope is indicated by propagation delay, but because of queuing delay and processing delay, this slope may get increased. So those two parameters may this increase the total delay. So this variation of receiving subsequent packets a different time difference, that is known as jitter. Jitter will be very useful in case of video transmission or audio transmission. For web traffic and FTP traffic, jitter won't be matter. So like we have discussed about all the parameters of performance. Thank you.